Stagnation. Top of the morning to you.
Let's go, champion.
Let's do this thing, man. What a Monday. You know, it seems that there is, what would you say, contagion coming through.
Man. The crypto space didn't get a break all weekend, man. This was one thing after the other.
Bro, the crypto space will never get a break until all the scammers exit the space. Okay, it's a lot of shady activity going on.
Jeez.
If you've not been paying attention, perhaps you were under the rock for the weekend. Right? Well, before we get into this, do we want to do some Bitcoin TA first?
Yeah. Let's do it, man. Welcome to the Monday morning. Let's get this going.
Come on, sir. Bring us charts.
Right.
Bring us charts, man.
All right, to the charts, peoples. We are going to start today with the daily charts of Bitcoin. Let's figure out what was going on. The last time we spoke, we drew this symmetrical triangle here. And of course, if you follow trend analysis, it was supposed to either go up or down, which went down initially and quickly came back up. But now if we take a look at a quick analysis of what's going on the daily charts, we tend to still have some sort of, what do you call that? Ascending?
Like ascending or a bullish continuation channel, if you will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have an issue though. If it breaks 0.786 into this zone here, which as we all know is the price volume control zone, then we might have some issues. The 8-day moving average is trying to squeeze downward, which we can probably see here on the 4-hour chart. It's already crossed down, right? And it's going down towards this zone here. If we fill the symmetrical area of 0.5 and 0.382, we could see it come back to zero, which is about that $20,000 zone on the 4-hour chart. Or if you look at it on the daily chart, if it breaks that, the 0.382 is going to come down to that $19,000 zone. So it depends on which time frame you are trading Bitcoin on, but we don't trade, we just buy. So we're always looking for good places or good times to buy. Right now, there is pressure on Bitcoin. And I think it has a lot to do with what you were saying earlier. Everything right now on all the other time frames, squeezing downward, coming down for the 200-day moving average on the 1-hour chart. It's going to touch 1 here, which again is $20,000. RSI seems to be oversold on the 1-hour chart, but on the daily charts, it's still not overbought, really. So, if you're buying Bitcoin now, it's not a bad time, not financial advice. But at the current moment, there is a lot of tension against Bitcoin. And I think a lot of what's going on or that has been going on over this weekend has a lot to say about it.
Absolutely. Over the weekend as well, we also did some videos and we spoke about this, what was it? The Ripple situation.
Yeah, XRP situation.
And how, exactly, the XRP situation and how these people essentially created these shares out of thin air, right? And they're selling some and so on and so forth.
Yep.
However, this trend seems to be something that is continuously happening through the crypto space.
Yep.
We've seen multiple failures, especially in the summer, right?
Yep.
That all circled around this sort of behavior.
Yep.
At this point in time, we have FTX, which is apparently one of the newest and biggest exchanges out there, engaging in similar situations, or at least the same practice is potentially leading to the demise at this point. So let's look at what we're talking about here. Binance considers buying banks, bridging the gap between crypto and TradeFi. Of course, this is, I don't know, what are your thoughts on Binance as an exchange, Double O? I mean, obviously they're the oldest exchange out there. One of the oldest,
now,
at least.
I'm stuck with trying to add rock kind of, what's the terminology?
A rock and a hard place, I believe it is. Yeah.
So my aunt is an advisor at Binance now, one of the top advisors at Binance. So I can't talk shit about Binance that much. That said, though, they've been around for a while. We'll talk about banking yourself and
Yeah.
the reason why crypto is around. If you understand Bitcoin, you don't really need a bank. But if Binance is buying a bank, which then means that for all the other altcoins, they sort of kind of need regulations and they
Mm.
need to be banked. It will work perfect there. You know, in Binance right
Absolutely.
now, you can buy Bitcoin without the fees. But the only issue is that you're being tracked. Everything that you do with that Bitcoin is
Is
have to
being
be
tracked.
reported to the Federal Reserve, which again breaks the old philosophy around Bitcoin. So my thoughts about Binance right now with them trying to buy a bank, I think it's a good strategy because if we talk about the business solutions that we are trying to implement as well, we will still sort of need for the end user that middle transactor unless people start learning that they can do this peer to peer, which is the biggest challenge. The people
Absolutely.
don't understand the technology, which is why we still keep needing that middleman.
I think there's a couple really good things that you pointed out there too. The peer-to-peer side of things, which we're going to jump into it as we see what is happening in Lebanon,
Yep.
right? And then of course, that education to get people to understand that they can do this thing peer-to-peer, which is why we also do a lot of orange pilling with people.
Yep.
But I'm just going to read some of the key facts here. We're not going to run through the whole article. But you see what is happening. Zhao, we'll just call him CZ because no one
CZ.
can pronounce his name, and he even has it on Twitter as CZ as well. So Zhao did not specify which banks might be under consideration, and so they're making considerations to add banks to the business plan, right, as a crypto exchange to bridge the gap between crypto and traditional finance, is what they say. Even though Bitcoin really is really doing that. So he did not specify which banks are under consideration, but said they're looking at financial institutions with local licenses, including traditional banks and payment service providers. In comments made in an interview at a web summit in Lisbon, according to Bloomberg, of course, global regulators are developing licensing regimes to regulate cryptocurrencies. Global regulators. What do they refer to as global regulators here? Would that be
Well,
World Economic
we,
Forum people or what?
yeah. As we all know, regulators. Remember, we have the CFTC is not global. There is a global crypto regulation that is in Europe that is trying to
Mm,
create a standard crypto regulation for all of Europe. So
mm,
there's all these regulatory private organizations that are not voted for by we the people that are
right.
trying to regulate crypto. I can't remember all the names right now, but I think we did a couple of videos back when we were doing those researches.
Absolutely. And these are just now. I know that when it comes to just for the global regulation of crypto, I think that this is something that needs to be discussed. I think there has to be public input, right, with the people as to how this thing is. We saw Sam Bankman-Fried actually, which we're going to be talking about here next. Um, he proposed some regulations, right, for the space, and looking at most of it, there was clearly some backlash because it seems that these guys were. It's the same thing like as what is it? 1970 after the 1920s financial market crash. You saw banks kind of essentially create their own rules and started lobbying with government heavily, which is the same thing he's doing, right? It's like he's trying to buy out everyone and everything in his path to make sure that FTX is the main player in the game, if you will, while shunning out everyone. Now, it'll be interesting to see how this goes. Furthermore, I wonder if this is going to go, considering that now Binance is now liquidating their position in FTX. Your
So
thoughts on this?
yes, this is a very tough topic. This is one
Mm,
of the reasons why you see the current crash in the crypto space.
right.
This probably gonna make a dent if it continues at this pace. We had this conversation in one of the videos that we just recorded this weekend about when you start up a business, you have the right to create X amount of shares
Yes.
that represent your company. These guys have done that. They are, and this is why the SEC says that this is a company, not just crypto space. And what makes it even harder is that his company is somewhere in the Bahamas, Binance is
Right.
somewhere in Europe. They're not paying taxes, but they're collecting US pay us money and supposedly trading it for them, or you trading it on their platform, but you're not paying taxes. This is why all those altcoins are companies. So they've created this many shares. Binance bought a couple of those shares, right? You know, we're trying to make ourselves grow as a business, to do partnerships, and then that's
Absolutely.
basically what happened there. But what Binance is finding out is that, hey, this guy is probably up to no good. Okay, of course we have this many X amount of shares, but you're over here lobbying against me. Like, what the hell are you doing? Or you know, you're over here doing backdoor deals against
Yeah.
my organization. You cannot be doing that. So it's like, no, I'm over and done with you. I'm selling my FTT tokens
Right.
because often FTT tokens
They have no
they
value.
don't have
From what
any. Yeah, I mean they have value. It's a company, but it does not have
No,
what's
I
it
would
called
say
in the
they don't
crypto
have
space.
any value based on how it came to life. Because this is why I say that. Let me explain why I say that. From everything I've been reading so far, right? And actually, maybe if I jump into this tweet here, right? And then you sent me this one.
Yep.
And this is maybe I was interpreting this a bit differently than you did.
Yep.
But I'm just gonna read through this here and you see what I'm talking about. So you have FTX, okay, which is the exchange
Sand
the
back
token,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So there's two things we want to point out here. There's FTX and then there's
Yep.
Alameda Research.
Yep.
Alameda Research buys and sells. They do the trading. FTX
Yep.
is the exchange.
Just like what you're having with the old Robin Hood and the stock market. There is
Right.
the market makers that does the trading for you.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. Alameda Research, FTX, and FTX Exchange are all owned by the same person.
Yep.
You understand?
Yep.
So, and the tokens were created by the same person and then given a valuation, which is why I brought up the XRP thing in the beginning. So it's the same setup to begin with. So we see that FTX only represents 1/10 of the SBF Kingdom's revenue, Sam Bankman-Fried. Most has been made by aggressive trading strategies at Alameda. FTX has been trading on that revenue to prop up and build FTX. Right. By trading Almeida's Tether for FTX's FTT has zero utility, though there is virtually zero demand for it. Okay, so the price keeps pumping up, but there's no demand for it.
Yeah, but
So-
the utility part is this, right? In crypto, utility is that you have to do something. They are right in that it has no utility. But as value, the value could come from I created the company. This is the services that my company provides. So that's where that came from.
What is
So no utility and no value are two different things.
no utility and no value?
Yeah.
But what is it real value if there is no demand for it?
Hey,
Because
that's why you have.
they're propping up the price of the coin itself.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah.
why at this point CZ from Binance is choosing to exit the game, apparently, right? Because it seems to keep pumping this bubble, right? So this is where they speak about that. So unlike BNB, which goes to exactly what you're explaining there, and that was a good explanation. So unlike BNB, which is a Binance coin, FTT is an illiquid asset, and now the Tether coffers at Alameda are bare, so they have no more Tether to keep perpetuating these trades. FTX and Alameda have now been reduced to flywheel circle jerking, trading FTT back and forth to create the illusion of value, liquidity, and revenue. So you create this fake coin, you are fake trading it to make it seem like people want it and people are trading it, but there is really no value there.
Yep.
So
I've been checking the markets lately, and I've been seeing that as well. FTT has been trying to pop, and this
Right.
is probably them using algos to trade it. If you're out there trying to trade FTT, my own advice, not financial advice, is just stay away from that space for now. And it's been a lot of news about, if you have your coins on FTX, get it out of there. That's even going to make it even more terrible for the entire crypto space. We're going to see some major crash coming if people will start moving stuff out or selling back to USD.
Absolutely, especially because here's, if you when you have these fake coins that have no utility, right, and you've given a bunch of it to Binance.
Binance is in
And
trouble.
Binance is holding, as long as Binance is holding onto it, it looks like the coin has some value because he's holding onto it. But if he starts dumping it, because what happens is, if the coin has no value, there is no demand for it, it means that it's clearly propped up. And Sam and his squad can easily, pull out their tether and you just have a hollow thing just there. So it will be best for people to exit the situation before these guys all start dumping their coins, because the coins are only there or at the price that it is because they're holding it. So when you buy it, that's what is holding up that value. If they dump it, there is no one for you. You have no exit liquidity at that point.
What did they say though? When the elephants fight, who suffers?
The small people.
Yep, the entire forest, the entire jungle, the grass, everything suffers. So yeah, they gotta figure out a way to make this fight not a major fight, because that could have Bitcoin at 14K if they continue this thing.
But this is how I look at it. I look at it as a cleansing of all the garbage that is in the system. So it needs to happen. And I think FTX maybe needs to go downhill. It is what it is.
Yeah. But if you talk about FTX, you have all these social media people that has been sponsoring it. You have all these football and basketball players that has been sponsoring it. The argument is that they're just trying to bribe people, to kind of lobby people, to lobby the government for that. I understand that. I think where Sam got it wrong here is that interview that he had about this legislation proposal that was literally trying to create another environment of, you have this group of type of investors, right? Accredited investors or different kind of coins. I mean, like, this guy just literally flipped against the entire crypto space because he's trying to build his own empire. And I think, that's what Binance saw, and that's what Binance is trying to exit as well, which is now bringing in even more details of how these companies operate, which then makes you start questioning, does FTT actually really have any value, or does it even have any utility? If it doesn't, then you're in trouble.
Exactly.
Everybody's in trouble.
And I think that's what the problem is here. I think you hit the nail on the head there, because I think that's what CZ at Binance is, because you saw his tweets as he was outlining those.
Yep.
If that is the reality, it means that he was given essentially empty tokens, if you will, and this is why he's trying to dump it out. Now, there is talk about them maybe setting up a deal and for FTX to buy back those tokens from him at $22, right? If they did that, yes, it will keep the market stable. However, if they did that, that also looks very shady from Binance's end, because what they're doing then is that they're allowing this horrible setup that has been going up in the crypto space forever, to carry on a little bit longer.
The banks do the same thing. I keep telling folks that it's the same bankers that have not gone to the crypto space that these guys have hired to now implement those same strategies. This is like Terra Luna all over again.
It really is. It really is. And this is what could bring Bitcoin down to 14K. Look, if it happens, man, you know what to do. You just keep buying. You just keep buying, Now, speaking of Bitcoin, and before we close this one out here, I think it's very important, because we talk about Bitcoin all the time. We're always trying to orange peel people and things like this.
Yep.
And I think it's very important for people to see some of the things that Bitcoin, when you talk about utility, when you talk about value, right? People can go back and forth all day on what value whatever coin is trying to bring. We are heavy about Bitcoin. We're very passionate about Bitcoin because of the potential and the possibilities that it proposes, and that is really actually taking place. So there is this video here. I would like for us to just watch this video. You send this one here down below, and I thought this was absolutely cool, even though it's a horrible situation that people are dealing with. But I think people can learn from this, because we've also said that most people in America do not understand the value of crypto because no one is stepping on their neck yet. So let's check this out.
By the way, this is coming from CNBC, the same organization that I was telling you that Bitcoin was a Ponzi scheme.
Of all people, dude. Good point. All right, check this out.
After after decades of war and bad spending decisions by the government, Lebanon's economy is in ruin. I'm speaking to people who've had their life savings wiped out. There are fuel shortages and power cuts, a local currency that's lost 95% of its value, and crucially, money trapped in the bank. People are literally robbing banks at gunpoint to demand access to their own cash. And because of this, a sort of shadow crypto economy has emerged. So we're talking about locals mining for Bitcoin, Dogecoin, and Litecoin to earn money because they can't find work. Others are getting paid in Bitcoin by finding freelance gigs on Reddit and then treating Bitcoin like their bank because they think it's the safest way to store their savings. I also spoke to multiple people who are arranging meetings in Telegram to swap the stablecoin Tether for actual US dollars, which they then use to buy groceries. Overwhelmingly, what I keep hearing is that people are desperate for a connection to money that actually makes sense, and decentralized digital currencies that are outside the reach of bankers and politicians makes a whole lot more sense than the Lebanese lira right now.
How about that?
You know what I found interesting about that, really, though?
Right.
They listed the top list of coins that the big banks. It's like, you know, when you watch the news, you should always try to figure out what's the agenda behind it, right?
Absolutely.
They're pushing Bitcoin. Of course, they want to push Bitcoin, but they also want to push the other things that they're heavily invested in, the big institutions. Because anything that gets on TV, somebody has paid or have invested time to ensure that it's on TV. That's why you don't always get all the news that is going on around you on TV. So they listed Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, XRP. If you want freedom money, they already just told you there, it's Bitcoin. But if you want to make money, because of they've already invested in those things, those are the other ones that they listed. Just think it, just thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I see what you're saying there. But at the same time, you know, it's one of those things. It's you have to catch the trade, man. You have to catch the trade if that's what you're into and you do your research. But it's also one of those things. Again, not financial advice, but it's you just have to be careful because you engage in those things as well, and
then you find out what's going on in the background.
Exactly, because it's really tricky, man. Because you're 100% right. Like, yeah, you can catch those trades. This is how people become, you know, very wealthy in crypto, right? They catch a proper trade, but at the same time, you find yourself on the wrong end of the deal, and
Dude,
you will get wrecked.
I caught a fallen knife of Binance and FTX. I still have it in my family account. I bought those guys at the top. They're still sitting in there, what less?
I think, remember I said before, Binance is one that I'm like, you know, I can see it. It will come back. Like, it can, you know. So, but absolutely incredible. People robbing banks at gunpoint for their own money. What a time to be alive, huh?
Well, tell folks they don't get it, though. They don't understand that this could happen in America. It happened in China. It happened in Lebanon.
Yeah.
What's stopping it from happening here?
Absolutely. But this is what Bitcoin is all about. As you can see, the people are still able to carry on. We saw the utility of Bitcoin as well when the Ukraine situation happened. We see the utility of Bitcoin daily when people make transactions with, remittances.
Peer-to-peer.
Right? Yeah, peer-to-peer remittances. So let's look at some comments down below. I think we have El Demnam El here. He says, good morning, gents. Good morning to you too, sir. Lebanon's financial crisis is absolutely crazy. 100% true. You know, but I think if anything, we're learning from that Bitcoin works. Right? Because people are carrying on nonetheless. They have a way to exchange value with each other nonetheless. Because if they were all depending on the fiat system, or if they were all depending on a coin that was controlled, much worse CBDCs, they will have no leg to stand on.
Don't even talk about CBDCs. That would be dangerous. I mean, Turkey is headed that way as well right now. I mean, they have a 65% inflation rate.
Yeah, exactly. So all of this is definitely going to be going down. Any final thoughts before we close this one out, Double O?
Ha! As always, final thoughts if you have not liked and subscribed.
Yes.
Follow us on this centralized media systems or platforms. YouTube, of course. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You know, we can do some podcasts. Get on the show. Let's have a great conversation. How can we change the world? Let's do it.
We're doing our best. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen. Brazen out.
Double O.